Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is January 14th, 2024, and Barcelona have officially lost their first trophy of the season after a humiliating defeat against Real Madrid 4-1. This is the post match live analysis. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mo. This is the post-match live analysis where we review Barcelona's matches as soon as they end, or usually as soon as they end. Today, I was not able to do a post-match live analysis right after the match because I did watch the match outside of my home. So I do apologize about that, but maybe it was a good idea or a good thing that I didn't get to do the post-match live analysis right away because I was truly disgusted. I was angry. I was disappointed. And I was experiencing a myriad of emotions after the pathetic performance that we saw on behalf of Barcelona against Real Madrid. So I think it's good that it was a few hours passed after the match because it gave me more time to digest what happened, more time to cool off, and more time to think about what I had to say instead of coming on here and being angry. And what I have to say is that this project is dead, ladies and gentlemen, if there ever was one. Matter of fact, scratch that. I don't even think this project is dead because there is no project. See, a project is a collaborative enterprise that's carefully planned with a certain aim or goal. And when I look at Xavi's so-called projects, I don't see that. I don't see any kind of careful planning. I don't see any planning at all. And I don't know what the aim or goal is because I haven't seen it either. What I see is a team that 2 years after Xavi taking control of it still has no idea how to play football. There's no strategy in place. The team has no identity. There's no style of play, no mechanisms in place whatsoever. This is something that we've been seeing over and over and over again 2 years in Xavi's so-called project. And not only has the team not gotten any better, but the team has actually gotten worse, which I don't know how that happens. Usually projects get better over time. If they're not working properly, they stay stagnant. But in this case, not only are we not improving, we're not even staying stagnant. We're regressing, which again, I don't know how that happens. So I don't think there's a project in place. I don't think Xavi is the right person to build any kind of project. And I'm truly, truly disappointed at what I saw today. Now, I've been saying this since last season when Barcelona were playing mediocre football and we're barely beating teams 1-0. But I was labeled a hater. I was labeled a negative person, not a true Barcelona fan. Some people said that they were never going to watch the channel ever again. And well, the chickens have come home to roost. Because this is what happens when you play bad match after bad match. This is what happens when you barely scrape by. This is what happens when you get lucky. Eventually, all of that catches up with you. And luck runs out, and you can't keep winning matches by luck. And barely scraping by is not good enough when you come across a team that knows what they're doing. And that's exactly what happened today. Our luck, our mediocre football, our conformism all caught up with us, and we were absolutely humiliated by Real Madrid because this was not a match where both teams went head-to-head. This was not a match where both teams were leveled and where things maybe did not go our way, because that happens. Sometimes you could play really good matches and still lose, especially in the Clásico. You expect that. You're playing against a giant team. I was not angry when Barcelona lost against Real Madrid 2 years ago in Spanish Super Cup 3-1. because we have played well, but we lost. It happens. But today was a total humiliation. Madrid dominated that entire 90 minutes. They dominated every facet of the game. They were better in every line, defensively, offensively, in the midfield. And they did whatever they wanted, whenever they wanted. When they wanted to attack us, they easily did so without Barcelona having any response. When they wanted to take a break, they easily did so and defended in their lower third without Barcelona having any response. And there's a total domination with a complete clueless team and a completely clueless coach that had absolutely no response to what was going on the field. And everybody is at fault here. The players are at fault here because they've been playing like mediocre players. They play like they deserve respect and fear from other opponents when they haven't done anything to earn that fear or respect. They play like with no intensity, no passion. This is an El Clasico match in a cup final where you're supposed to go out there and leave it all on the field, but instead they play like they're playing a warm-up match or they're playing in their neighborhood league. This is also the fault of Xavi and the coaching staff for having absolutely no idea on how to build a project, for having no idea how to manage a team as big as Barcelona, and for having no idea how to respond to circumstances, because it was apparent that once things started to go bad, Xavi did not have any idea how to adjust tactically and how to respond to what Ancelotti was doing. And this is the fault of Barcelona board for continuing to trust Xavi and for continuing to making bad decisions when it comes to signings, because you should not spend 120 million euros on players like Ferran and Rafinha. And there's no excuse for this. Everybody's at fault today. This is absolutely inexcusable. And this project is done, is dead, if there ever was one. And if Xavi truly loves this club like he says he does, he needs to step aside, because it's more than clear and evident that he is not the man to lead this. And it's time for a fresh start. And that's not only at the coaching level. Half of the squad needs to go too, because there's a lot of players right now, and I won't get into names because I've said it before. I don't want to say it again, sound like a broken record, but there are plenty of players on the team that simply do not deserve to wear the jersey that they're wearing. Let's head to the comment sections, do a few more comments, and then I'll talk a little bit more about the match. This will be a short live stream. Don't want to go too long into it because everything that I've had to say in the past about the horrible performance that the team has been giving us this past whole year has already been said, and I don't want to sound like a broken record. So I'm going to keep this short, but let's do a few more comments, and then we'll continue talking about the match. Whew. Okay, let's see. Brian says, Xavi doesn't need to get sacked. He has to get rid of these passionless players and work on a team's mentality. I think we need both. I don't think he should be sacked, just being the Barcelona legend that he is, but he should resign, and the board should at least ask him to resign. But you are right that we do have passionless players. We have players who have no reason to be in Barcelona because they don't have the Barcelona level, but Xavi is not in the clear here either. He's at fault just as much, if not more, than these passionless players. Eliseo says Ferran needs to go, Conde needs to go, and Xavi needs to go. Leo was also close to bring on that list. 100% agree. Barry Goliath says, poor performance, Mo. I'm gutted, seriously starting to doubt Xavi. I mean, he's given me plenty of reasons to doubt him for quite some time now. I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt at first, of course, first season. But 2 years in, and again, not only have I not seen any improvements, but I've seen a team get worse. It is more than obvious that Xavi is just not the guy to lead this team. He's a good transitional coach, but not a coach that's good to build a project. And we seriously need to look for someone else. Curtis says, I will totally blame Laporta if he does not do anything about getting rid of Xavi, because when it was Koeman, he acted. We cannot be biased. Xavi is not a good coach. I don't think it's going to happen halfway through the season, just given, Xavi's stand. I mean, Koeman was a Barcelona legend, technically, too. He did win us the first UEFA Champions League, but Xavi's just on another level. I mean, he's one of the best midfielders, not only in the history of the club, but the entire world. He's one of the best midfielders in Spain. I mean, he's given Barcelona 2 trebles, a sextuple. He gave Spain its first World Cup. So I think just given his status, I don't think it's going to happen halfway through the season. I think they're probably going to wait until the end of the season, and I don't think it's going to be a sacking. It's probably most likely going to be, they're going to ask him to resign, just not so that they don't ruin his image. I think that's what's going to happen, or at least I hope that's what's going to happen, because we can't have Xavi as the coach of Barcelona for another season. All we're doing is delaying the inevitable, which is a total collapse of this project, which I think already happened. So maybe it's not delaying the inevitable, but it's definitely delaying this project beginning, because again, like I said before, I don't even think this project ever took off, and the players are only going to keep getting older and older. And if we don't start the project, at what point do we start it? So we have to get rid of him. I don't think it's going to happen midway through the season. I think it's going to happen at the end. Anyway, let's talk a little bit more, because we do have some statements from Xavi, who did speak after the match ended. And I will make this bigger and take the logo off so you can see it. But he said, disappointed, sad. We had a lot of hope, a lot of enthusiasm, and we had the worst game of all. We started very badly. We were able to get one back, but the 3-1 score made things difficult for us. Madrid have done us a lot of damage on the counter. We have not stopped those counters, and today we have to live the bitter side of football. I apologize to the fans, because it has been difficult for us to compete. We have not been comfortable at any time. We have been dominated. I apologize to the fans, because we have shown a poor display. I have lived through very tough defeats, and we have recovered. Barca will return. Couple of things I want to say about this. First of all, he ends with saying we have Barca will return. And I have a problem with that, because just because we are Barca does not mean we're going to return. Returning does not happen just like that. It's not a miracle. Does not come out of thin air. Just ask AC Milan. AC Milan was one of the greats in Europe, and for many, many years they have not, because they too entered a bad phase, and they have not done things right, and they have not been able to dig themselves out of the hole that they're in and that they've been in for many, many years. So just saying Barca will return just because we're Barca, that's just lying to yourself, because that's not going to happen. The way Barca's going to return is by having the right coach, build the right project, and implement the right strategy, the right style of play, and the right identity that could help us return. Not just saying, well, we're Barca and we're going to return and that's it. That's not going to happen. The second thing is, I do appreciate that Xavi at least did not come up with any excuses, because that's what he's been doing for a very long time. We have seen a shift of tone lately. So I do appreciate that he didn't come up with any excuses, that he admitted that simply we were dominated, Madrid were better, we did not have a good game. Because he could have used the referee excuse, which, don't get me wrong, today's refereeing was absolutely awful in favor of Real Madrid, like they've been all throughout the season. I think the referee gave Real Madrid a free penalty kick. That should have been a yellow card to Vinicius Jr. for diving. I think Ronald Araujo was expelled unfairly, because both of his yellow cards were a result of Vinicius Jr. doing what he does best, which is diving and being a clown. But nonetheless, do not mistake this for being the referee's fault, because this loss, this defeat was not the referee's fault. The goal, yes, but that match could have still ended 3-1. That match could have ended 7 or 8-1, because Madrid really wasted a lot of shots. So yes, the referee was awful, but no way it was his fault. So I appreciate that Xavi did not try to blame the referee or try to come up with any other excuses. He admits that we were dominated. But what I don't like is when he says, I apologize to the fan. It's been difficult for us to compete. We have not been comfortable at any time. And the reason why I say that is not because I don't appreciate his apology, is because his apologies are not enough. Because this is FC Barcelona, one of the biggest clubs in the world, one of the most historic clubs in the world. This is not a training school for coaches. You don't get to come here, try things out, and say, oh, didn't work out. I'm sorry. Let me try something else. That didn't work out. I'm sorry. Let me try something else. You can either lead the project or you step aside. And we've seen clearly that Xavi cannot lead the project, so he needs to do what's best for the club and step aside. Simply apologizing is not enough, because what he's doing a lot of damage to the club, and he's doing a lot of damage to the history of the club, with now 2 humiliating defeats to Real Madrid by 4 goals. So apology is no longer enough. You don't get redos in this club. You don't get to try things out at this club. This is not an NGO. Xavi Hernandez said that to Ansu Fati. He said this is not an NGO. We can't just have him playing here just because he's a Barcelona, La Masia project. Well, we got to say the same thing to Xavi Hernandez. This is not an NGO. This is not a charity. You don't get to come here and just try things out. You don't get do-overs. You don't get resets. You can either lead the project, and if you can't, you got to step aside. And he has clearly shown us that he can't lead this project. So Xavi needs to do what's right, and he needs to resign, not apologize, because his apologies are no longer enough. Let's do a few more comments, and then we'll end this live stream. A lot of you are right now active in the comment section. I'm seeing it moving like crazy. But let's see what you guys are saying. I know I haven't done a news video yet. I'll try to make one tonight. If not, I'll definitely do one early tomorrow. It's not been a good day, but let's see. Matrix says, apart from Pedri, Yamal, Felix, Cancelo, Gabi, Fermin, I would sell everyone else, even the goalkeeper. We need world-class goalkeeper and give them both play time. The thing about goalkeepers, you cannot have 2 class world keepers, because one of them is going to want to leave. Because when you have your second goalkeeper, they're usually only going to play Copa del Rey matches, which are 3-4 matches a year. And no world-class goalkeeper is going to want to play just 3-4 matches. Everybody's going to want to start, right? We saw that with Navas, Donnarumma, big problem with PSG. Now, as far as selling the rest of the squad, I would add to that list maybe Frankie de Jong that I wouldn't want to sell. Araujo, of course, I wouldn't want to sell. Who else? Balde, of course, I wouldn't want to sell. And I think everyone else, yeah, I agree. So yeah, only to your list, I would just add Frankie, Balde, and Araujo. And then everyone else could go. All right, a couple of more, and then we will end it. Brian says, Xavi tried similar tactics to that of last year, Copa final. Blood is behind the curve. I think he's a one-trick pony. And that one trick that he knows is what he implemented against Real Madrid in previous matches, which resulted in us winning. But of course, Ancelotti's not stupid. He learned the trick and he countered it, and that's how he's been able to defeat us by really bad margins, some of the biggest margins in history this time around in the last El Clasico. And that one trick that Xavi knows, not only does he implement it against Real Madrid, he implements it against every other team. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But when it doesn't, since he's a one-trick pony, he doesn't know how to adjust. When things are not going his way, he doesn't know how to adjust because he only knows that one trick. Okay, let's see. One more. Plan says, every time we play Real this season, he gets scared and spawn random formations. He must go. I don't think it's been random formation. It's been the same formation, 4-4-2, with Araujo on the right as a right back, Christian Kunde both in the center back, Balde on the left, and then a line of 4 midfielders. It's the same line, Frankie, Gundogan, Pedri, but of course, being that Gabi's injured, he put in Sergi. And then your 2 front, which usually is Lewandowski and Rafinha, but since Rafinha's injured, he put in Ferran. So it's not random. It's the same formation that he uses every time against Real Madrid. It worked at the beginning, but of course, they learned from their mistakes, unlike Xavi and our team, who doesn't learn from their mistakes. And of course, Madrid adjusted, and that's how they beat us these last 2 times. The Matrix says, we need to get our finances together. We need to stop buying slow old men when the younger players are hungry. Look at Real Madrid and tell me who from our team will start in their team. I do agree that we should not keep buying old, slow players. That, unfortunately, is a reflection of our finances. You cannot, when you don't have the money to buy young stars, you have to settle for the free agent ones, right? The older ones like Gundogan, like Oriol Romeo, who only cost 3 million, like Lewandowski, who there's no way we could have afforded him in his prime, right? But as far as who from our players would start in Madrid, I mean, I think Pedri would, I think Gabi would, I think Frankie would, I think Araujo would, Christensen, who's much better than Rudiger. Let me think, who else would? I think that's it. Nobody from our offensive line would start, but who knows? Maybe they would start Lewandowski. They did, after all, play Benzema into very late into his career when he was no longer scoring. So, yeah. Anyways, Not the Gamer says, how do you feel about Ferran playing at today? I remember last year final Dembele was playing. He did really well, but I feel like Ferran is being misused. The problem with Ferran, and God bless his heart, he's a very hard worker. He's probably one of the very few players that plays with passion, with intensity, and then he gives it all, but he's simply not Barca level. So I don't think it's that his misuse. He's just not going to give more because he doesn't have any more to give, right? Whether you play him on the right, whether you play him on the left, whether you play him as a second striker or center forward, he will give you his 120%. He will give you plenty of intensity. He will try his hardest. But when you're not good enough for Barca, you're just not good enough. There's not much you can do. And it's the same thing about Rafinha, but for some reason, people don't connect those two, right? People argument is always like, oh, Rafinha, he's great. We should keep him because he's such a hard worker. Okay, Ferran is a hard worker too. Should we keep him too? No, we should get rid of both because both are not Barca level. You cannot have it both ways. You cannot say, well, Rafinha is a hard worker, so we should keep him even though he's not Barca level. But let's get rid of Ferran because he's not Barca level, even though he does work hard. They're both not Barca level. They both work very hard, but that's just not enough. Running around like a headless chicken is not enough. Anybody could do that. If Barcelona signed me tomorrow, I would run my ass off for 90 minutes, up and down the field, right to left. I would be the hardest working player there. I would be completely useless, but I would work my ass off. And that doesn't mean I'm a great player. It's the same thing that goes on with Ferran and Rafinha. All right, let's see. One more comment. All right, Chuchi with the super sticker. I don't know why my streaming software does not allow me to see the super sticker, but thank you, Chuchi, for the donation. I guess I have to go back and see the comment section to see what your sticker looks like. But thank you for the super sticker, and thank you for the donation. We'll do one more comment, and then we will end the live stream. But King Hud said, Xavi needs to understand that he cannot coach a team he does not understand. His team started the season well. We topped the table once this season only. I'm willing to let Xavi play out the season. Actually, we did not start the season well. We've been playing bad since the beginning of 2023. The second half of last season was awful. We were barely scraping by, winning 1-0, 0-1 every match. And I said that was going to catch up with us, and that's what's happening this season. It's catching up with us against teams like Almeria, now against Real Madrid twice. You cannot keep scraping by because eventually you're going to come across a team that knows what you're doing or knows what they're doing, and that's not going to be enough, and your luck eventually will run out. You cannot keep getting lucky. You cannot keep getting penalty kicks in the 95th minute like we did against Las Palmas. That catches up with you. The only way to remain consistent is by playing good, and Barcelona has not done that in a very, very long time. Okay. Carrie says, Mo, what do you think about Joao Felix? Joao Felix, I've talked about him before. I was extremely excited when we signed him. I think Joao Felix is one of the most talented players in Europe, but he has shown us what other teams had already knew, which is that he's very, very inconsistent. And more importantly, he's lazy. And I know that was something that Griezmann said about him, that he doesn't work hard, that Joao Felix doesn't work hard, that he noticed that when they were teammates. And maybe I chucked it off as like, oh, the match between Atletico Madrid and Barcelona was coming up. Maybe it's just psychological war. Maybe Griezmann is just trying to, get into Felix's head. Maybe he's just being a hater. I don't know. But after that, I started paying attention. And Griezmann is not wrong. Joao Felix is lazy. He didn't say that word exactly. But Joao Felix will attempt a dribble And then if he loses the ball, his attitude is like, oh, well, fuck it, I lost it. He doesn't try to run back and get it back. He doesn't try to recover the ball. He doesn't come back to defend. All he wants to do is he wants to do his fancy dribbles, get past players, put on a show. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, oh, well. You know, he treats it like it's a FIFA match. Like if you mess up, you mess up. No big deal, nothing on the line. Very inconsistent, very disappointing from what I've seen from him. And if Atletico Madrid won 80 or 50 or 60 million euros, I think the only thing I would pay for is a one-way ticket back to Madrid, because I don't think we should spend our money on him, unfortunately. Again, I was very excited when we signed him. I was hoping that this would be the team where he would finally show us or give us what we all know he's capable of, but it wasn't. And the same thing is happening that what happened at Atletico Madrid. The same thing is happening that what happened in Chelsea. He's just a very inconsistent player because he just does not give it. He does not give it his all. He wants to only bank on his talent and skills, which again is a tremendous, one of the most skilled, talented players in Europe. But in modern day football, his skills and talent is not enough. You have to work hard. You have to want it, and you have to give it your all. And I think probably the biggest example of that is Real Madrid, Los Galácticos, one of the most talented teams in history. They had Ronaldo Nazario, they had Beckham, Roberto Carlos, Zinedine Zidane, Raúl, Figo. They had some of the most talented players, but the fact that there were so many talented players, they all just thought that they could just, drink, party all day and night and just show up to the matches and just bank on their talent. And it didn't work because they didn't win anything. And that's what modern day football is like. You have to work hard. Being talented is not enough. You have to work hard. You have to want it. And Joao Felix is not having that in him. He has the talent. He doesn't have the work ethic. Chuchu says, we didn't start the season well. We only won the league because Real were struggling. These players have lost faith in Xavi. They need a better coach to help the young players go get flaked. I don't think we won the league because Madrid were struggling, because Madrid are struggling this season too. I think we just got lucky. Actually, it was more of our defense won us last league because the team was not playing good. We were not generating that many chances. We were not scoring that many goals. I think it's just our defense was so much better that we were able to withstand other teams' attacks and counterattacks. And then with our luck, we would just score that one goal, barely scrape by, and then we would win matches. And that's how Real Madrid won the Champions League. What was it, like 2-3 years ago? They were pretty awful too, but they had a really good defense, and they had Karim Benzema. So their defense would just hold, and other teams would not be able to score against them. And then in one lucky run, one lucky pass, one lucky counter, boom, Karim Benzema would score that one goal, and voila, they would win the match. And that's how they won the Champions League, despite being horrendous the entire season. And that's how Barca won last season. We had one of the best defenses in Europe that would just hold against all teams. No teams would be able to score against us. And then in one lucky run and one lucky pass, Lewandowski would convert. And voila, we would win. So it's not because Real Madrid were struggling. I think that's the propaganda that Madrid were trying to sell everybody. Like, oh, Barcelona won is because we were struggling. Kind of like, if Barcelona win is not because of our own merit, it's because they let us, right? Madrid let us. Thank you guys for letting us win, right? It's not because they were struggling, because they're still struggling. But it's our defense where we had a solid enough defense to hold. And, whenever we were lucky, we would get a shot, a chance to score. We would. And that's why we were winning every match 1-0. Anyways, that is it for today, guys. I know I said I would keep it a little bit short. We're at 30 minutes. But tough day. A lot to reflect on in Barcelona. I hope they do. I will see you in the next video. Have a good night or a good morning wherever you are in the world. And as always, Viscarsa.